Hi, this is Mary from the Daily Sew, and these are my sewing books. I have quite a few sewing books in all kinds of categories like fitting and patterns and pattern making and just some general reference books. And I thought it would be a lot of fun to share with you the books that I reach for again and again. And we're just going to do some basic categories today, but if you would like to dig deeper, dive deeper into a particular category like fitting books, for example, just let me know in the comments and we can make that video happen. But if you're ready for my top sewing books today, let's go. Okay, let's start with my number one Desert Island sewing book, and that is going to have to be Vogue Sewing. Now, this was a textbook in school when I was in school, and that was a while ago. But this book, Vogue Sewing book, is just a general reference book of all things sewing. It's got everything in it. This is about this part, interface scenes. It's got zippers, it's got buttons, and it's even got some basic fitting things, well, pockets. Plus it also has things like general references about needles and buttons and elastics. And my version has these awesome fashions from the late 80s, which is kind of fun to get a little chuckle. Anyway, this is a really straightforward, dry kind of writing book. It is not opinions. It's not trying to tell you this way is better than that way. It's just saying, hey, this is how you do it. Really straightforward. Has just about anything you ever want to know how to do is in this book. Great book, good reference book. Another really good general sewing book is, well, I find it's a very interesting book. So, The Garment Making Book of Knowledge, Real Life Lessons from a Serial Sewist by Barbara Emody. Now, this book is almost the opposite of this book in that it is full of opinions. I think on the back she says, everything your mother would tell you about sewing if your mother could sew. So basically, she's giving you her opinions, just like your mom would. Right? No hold bar. She's not going to hold back. She's going to tell you what she thinks. And I happen to find her opinions interesting, a lot of times right. And so I just enjoy this book. You might want to find a sample of this book or at the library so that you can see if you like her style before you buy the book. But very good. It's not a reference book, even though it has things like how to put in a visible zipper. It's not a reference book that you're going to grab to like, oh yeah, how do you do that? Let me get a refresher on that. It's just general things from fitting to fabrics to the reason why she sews. It's a good book. My one complaint is there's no index in the back to just find something quickly. But again, it's not that kind of book. It is more of a, you could read it cover to cover and enjoy reading it. So The Garment Making Book of Knowledge, Real Life Lessons from a Serial Sewist by Barbara Emody. I enjoy it. That's a good one. Then I've got a lot of books from Threads magazine, Taunton Press. They're more specific, like shirt making and skirts. And then I've got quite a few of Sandra Betzina's books. They're good too, couture sewing books, etc. But let me show you the Sewing Bible. Now that is a really big claim, but this one is The Sewing Bible for Clothes Alterations, a step-by-step practical guide on how to alter clothes by Judith Turner. When it comes to altering clothes, I'm talking about taking in, letting out, raising it, shortening it, repairing a zipper. This is a really good book. It's got really clear illustrations, clean layout, easy to follow, menswear and women's wear. It's just a really, really good book. It's not fancy. It is The Sewing Bible by Judith Turner. It's a good one. The next category I think we should discuss, because it goes this way, is my pattern making books. Now, this one is the one I grabbed the most. This also was my textbook in school. This is Pattern Making for Fashion Design by Helen Joseph Armstrong. They still make it. Mine, of course, is an older edition. They still publish it. It is a textbook. It has a textbook type of price to it. It also is, because it's a textbook, very thorough, and maybe not for the beginner because it's kind of could be jargony. I have a lot of notes. Even my half scales are still here. Anyway, it's a really good book. Whenever I have a thing I want to change on a pattern, I will reference this book. Now this book, now that so much time has passed, I do have to scratch my head a little bit and rethink things through. And luckily I wrote a lot of notes in my book, so I can remember things. So it may not be for the beginner, but it is a really good book if you have some pattern making knowledge and you want some more menswear in here as well. Now, if you want a pattern making book but don't want to take that on, this book is far more accessible. How to Make Sewing Patterns by Donald H. McCune. Again, I have an older edition. And it is thinner. Doesn't have as much, it's not as thorough maybe as this book, but it's got a lot of good information. I believe the newer editions are more photographs and less illustrations, but I have not seen the newer edition. I think I just read that somewhere. But it's really great if you, say, have a dart and you want to turn it into a princess seam. He's going to show you how. If you have a straight skirt and you want to do a flared skirt, he's going to show you how to hack that pattern. Sleeve caps, it's going to be in here. Necklines, anything like that that you want to change, how to add a pocket, how to add a placket, how to add whatever to your existing pattern that maybe you've sewn a few times and now you just want to change something about it. This is a good book to reference. So that, again, How to Make Sewing Patterns by Donald H. McCune. All right, I have a lot of pattern making books, but those are my tops. So the next category I want to touch on is books about fabric. When you have to buy your fabric online like I do now, not every place gives you a clear description. So it is kind of nice to know the name of that fabric. You've sewn something and you like it, but even denim. You've sewn denim, you know what denim is, but do you? Because some denim is twill, some denim now doesn't look like it's a twill, but is it a twill? And of course it comes in all sorts of weights. So it's really good to know your fabrics. And this is the book I grab again and again. This one and the Vogue Sewing book are probably the most used books on my bookshelf. Sorry about the glare. Claire Schaefer's Fabric Sewing Guide. She took, again, older edition, she took every fabric available to home sewists at the time. She told you its characteristics, what kind of needle to use with it, any tips for cutting, say, like with the faux fur or something slippery like that, any tips for sewing it, what kind of seam finishes you should use with this fabric, how to care for this fabric, what this fabric is best for, what kind of uses it is best for. It's just a really great reference for fabric. So when I see a description, or if I'm sewing for the first time of lame, for instance, I could get this book out and I could see what kind of needle is recommended for lame and what kind of seam finishes, those kind of things. So it's a really great book. But my dear, wonderful husband knows me so well, and one year he got for me for Christmas the Fabric for Fashion, the Swatch book. It is a companion to Fabric for Fashion, the Complete Guide. What is great about the companion book, and I would buy the companion over the first book, is it has actual swatches, actual fabric swatches that you can pick up and see the opacity, the weight, if it has stretch, if the feel repulses you or if you love it. It's just a really special to have actual fabric swatches labeled. And there's some, of course, some descriptions too, but yeah, sweet. Put this one on your gift list, on your wish list, or your gift list if you know somebody special you want to give it to. I enjoyed it. Now, because fabric swatches themselves did add to the price of the book, I do want to mention this book, Textilepedia. This book doesn't have swatches, but it does tell you a lot about different fabrics and has really nice close-up photographs so you can see the fabric characteristics. You can't touch it, but it's kind of close. This is the next best thing, right? and very clear description, talking about weights as well. It's a good book. Textilepedia by Fashionary, I believe. Not one particular author, but a editorial editor, I mean. Okay, all right. Then I have a subcategory of fabric books, and that is sewing with knits. I think I have about 4 or 5 books just on sewing with knits, which may seem funny to some of you, but when I learned how to sew, it was wovens. People didn't wear knits every single day and everywhere like we do now. So I really needed a boost in my confidence, and I turned to the books. My favorite book could be The Timing, that when I got it. It was the last book I got about sewing with knits. So it could have been that everything just fell into place for me and her timing was right. Or, and the book I'm talking about is Sewing Knits from Fit to Finish by Linda Lee. Or it could be, she just has very clear, let's find a good picture, very clean layout, clear pictures, clean layouts. That's all the beginning stuff. Here's the stuff I needed. You know, just some really nice general information and clean layout and clear pictures, clear instructions. I really liked it. It put everything into place for me. I've learned a lot from this book. And it has an index. Nice. So that's Sewing Knits from Fit to Finish by Linda Lee. I will say, though, that the Nancy Zeman book, Sew Knits with Confidence. She's got a lot of these books out called Doing Something with Confidence. She was super smart woman about everything sewing and probably other things, but she only wrote books about sewing. The thing is, she is so smart that she's got a lot of information in here. And I wish the publishers had given her more pages to explain, because some of these pages, they just get complicated to me. There's like so many things to consider. Sometimes when you're a beginner, you just need a place to start. You don't need to make a decision about where to start because you don't know. You just want a basic, hey, start here, learn this, and then later when you feel confident, we'll learn some more considerations that you should consider, right? So, but it is a good book. And if you are not a beginner, I totally recommend this one. Sew Knits with Confidence. Go Nancy. All right, let's put this one back in and move on to fitting books. What is the category I have the most books about? What is the topic most people have the most trouble with? And that's going to be fitting. And for every single fitting book I have here, every single author has their own method. They say it's the best way to do it. And really, I think you just have to try for yourself. So a lot of these books go from A to B. I need to fit a garment. I've got to study this one person's method, you know, and do all the measurements just like they do it. And here's da. When I'm making a muslin, I don't have time to go through the method. I just want to fix that one particular problem, right? So the book I reach for again and again when I'm in the middle of a fitting crisis is Fast Fit by Sandra Bezzina. This one I got used. Fast Fit, easy pattern alterations for every figure. That is an exaggeration, but I will say she's got some really basic and common fitting problems for women. This is not about menswear. And she's got some pretty easy flat pattern adjustments that you can make. Again, I wish the publishers would have given her a few more pages because some of the solutions seem to stop short as if they just had to edit it. Like you only get 2 pages for this solution and you got to cram it all in there. But other than that, it's a really easy to follow, easy to find solutions. And it's really good for most common problems. Good beginner book. Now this book is older and I used to be able to find it in my library. So check your library, they might have it. And if you like her method, you're gonna like her book on fitting. Another good book on fitting, which may not be easy for you to find, and I apologize, but I bought mine used, and maybe you can find a used copy, is the Vogue Sewing Book of Fitting, Adjustments, and Alterations. Mine is from 1972. I think that's when this book first came out. There could have been other editions. It does have some outdated talk about beauty and foundation wear. But in the back here, it's also got some entertaining talk. In the back here, we've got some nice, clear illustrations. And like the Vogue sewing book, it's pretty straightforward of how to fix these things. And it's just really clearly written. And if you sew with vintage patterns, which I'm doing more and more of, you're going to find that these fitting adjustments really work because those patterns are so well marked. Hip line, bust apex, dart, bust apex, all that stuff's printed on the pattern. And so this fitting book tells you how to adjust those patterns very easily. Really nice information in this book, very clear to understand. And then honorable mention, and the reason I say honorable mention is because I have not read it cover to cover. And I wish I had, because this is Kenneth D. King's Smart Fitting Solutions. And I would be very smart if I had read the entire book, because he's really got a really good method so far from what I've read. Now, again, when I'm making a muslin and it's not fitting, I'm like panic searching through a book to find my answer. That is not the approach. With this book, I think you need to read it ahead of time, think about it, and then maybe figure out where you are. But he takes 6 different people and he goes through the step-by-step of how to get the fit right. It's a really good book. He's got some really good solutions. I like his approach, and I promise one day I will read it completely and maybe I'll report back. But I do want to mention this book. It's good. That's Smart Fitting Solutions by Kenneth D. King. Then I have a bunch of books that are just patterns. People put out books that have about, 10 or so patterns you can make. Not going to go into those today because I don't reach for them very often. But at the very end, let me show you something. The very end of my book collection, and I'm really surprised I have more than one book about mending. I actually have 2 here. I had another one, and when I was looking at my books in prep for this video, I was like, this one's terrible, get rid of it. So that's no longer on the shelves. This one I bought, Mend It Better, Creative Patching, Darning, and Stitching by Kristen M. Roach. Came out long before the trend of visible mending. It's a super smart book, and that must be Kristen herself, on mending. Some visible, some invisible. She breaks it down by stains and patchworks and darning and all sorts of, I think there's even zipper repair for your jeans, kind of replacing the zipper. It's a really good book. If anything in your wardrobe needs fixing, you'll probably find a solution here. I recommend it. Mend It Better by Kristen M. Roach. And hey, honorable mention, because I've been doing that all along. Again, if you have to buy things online, I took the money and invested in this Gutermann. That's the thread I use for my machines because I can get it on Wallwack. Wallwack, yeah. I went ahead and bought the thread card because I've already saved money, because I can tell exactly what thread by number I need to order online. Because you know how monitors don't always represent the true color, so they say. So actually, this was a good purchase. Okay, well, I hope you found this video helpful and you maybe found a few books you'd like to check out. If you would like to go deeper on any one topic here of different books, I also have style books, of course, and some fashion books. They're in other rooms. But if you'd like to go deeper on any one particular topic, just let me know and we can make a video about that. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.